All right. Hello, I'm Tom with Wacom.
Hi, I'm Mike Morris. I'm the executive producer and creator of Cartoon Crunch.
We're going to start the episode soon. What do you have to say about the episode, Mike? What are we looking forward to?
Well, let me just give you a little bit of background, first of all, about Cartoon Crunch. With this whole pandemic happening, we've all had to sort of switch gears quite a bit. And, we talk a lot, Tom. And one of the things that you had mentioned to me was that all of your live events had been unilaterally canceled.
Yeah.
And so that became everything with the Wacom events team going digital. And so we had gone through a little bit of a brainstorming session about things that we could do, and the idea for this show had come up a little bit into that, where we thought, there's a lot of different things that have reality shows attached to them, but nothing about animation or some of those other artistic endeavors. So the idea of doing a reality type show based on, if you can make a if teams of people could make an animated short, not having ever met each other, working remotely, and doing it all in a week. Like, that was the premise for the show. And I think that, us sort of capturing all of these this footage that we've gathered from our Zoom calls and from the different artists that you will meet very shortly, it's all come into something that's pretty special, I think.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun putting this together too.
And what was really amazing to me is, you'll see the different people and the different person. Oh, there's one of our people right there that you'll get to meet
Hey, Kim.
in a hot minute. What's up, Kim? Because we know that we don't necessarily get to, as panelists, look at the chat, because last time we did, it almost crashed my computer,
Yeah.
which was kind of a fun experience. But I'm really looking forward to seeing how you guys like the show, and it was exciting to be a part of it. We're still finishing up some of the little teeny bits on the last couple episodes. So this week is going to be an exciting week to show it all to you guys.
Yep. Well, you want to get the episode started?
I think we can do that. Let's do it.
All right, let's move over to that then.
All right, bye for now.
I am here in Burbank, California, capital of the United States animation industry and home to some of the most famous media companies in the world. Normally, this train station would be a bustling hub of activity as people come from their work and adhere to the nearby studios. However, with the onset of COVID-19, more and more people are turning to remote work and letting the internet do the commuting for them.
And with live events going virtual all over the world, we at Wacom issued a unique artistic challenge.
We gathered portfolios from across the Americas, selected 8 student artists, and split them into 2 teams, giving them a Wacom 1, some pro animation software, and 7 days to create a 45-second animated short. And everything done remotely. This is Cartoon Crunch. Welcome everybody to day 1 of Cartoon Crunch. Today we are going to be focused on story. But before we do that, let's have introductions. Everybody, please, let's introduce ourselves. Dylan, why don't you go first?
My name is Dylan O'Keefe. I am an animator, director, illustrator, painter, a man of many things. I'm from New York, and I went to school at Fashion Institute of Technology.
Fantastic. How about you, Leanne?
Hi, I'm Leanne Schmidt. I'm a storyboarder and effects and character 2D animator. I'm from O'Fallon, Illinois, and I go to the Hispanic College of Art and Design.
Great. Casey.
Hi, my name is Casey, and I am an illustration student at Moore College of Art and Design, and I'm interested in design for animation.
Wonderful. Kim.
Hey, my name is Kim. I'm an animator, musician, and graffiti artist from Brazil, and I attend Lipe Diaz School of Visual Arts for traditional animation.
Right on. And this is our Team East. So comprising time zones that are on the more eastern side of the United States and Latin America. Okay, now for Team West. Serena.
Hi, I'm Serena Abraham. I'm an animation designer. I specialize in 2D animation. I'm studying at MIT Institute of Design, and I'm currently in Texas, Plano.
Fantastic. Brittany.
So my name is Brittany Consegra. I am from LA. I go to the Art Center College of Design, and my main focus is design.
Wonderful. Daniel.
Hello, my name is Daniel Whalen. I'm mostly a storyboard artist and 2D animator. I'm from Long Beach, and I go to Cal State Fullerton.
Wonderful. And Annie.
Hello, my name is Annie Bearden. I'm a character designer and 2D animator. I'm in Utah and I go to Snow College.
So as you all are well aware, you are going to be breaking story today on your 45 seconds or less animated shorts. So let's talk a little bit about story. So the phrase is story is king. So you guys need to come up with a few things for your stories. Every good piece of media begins with a great story. So let's discuss a couple of the concepts that go into telling a really great story. So first of all, let's talk about compelling characters. What makes a character compelling in your eyes?
Well, they have to face obstacles.
They need a goal, like something they really want to do. And that's why they will face those obstacles, and that's where conflicts come. And of course, they have to be cool. I think we all agree.
I believe a good character requires a strong personality, not in the sense that they are headstrong, but having personality traits in which a person can relate to, whether they're shy, timid, brave, maybe they're boisterous. I think those are very important elements to help enhance a story.
But to add on to that, the more relatable it is, the more somebody is compelled to see what happens to this character, whether it be character growth or I don't know, whatever situation.
All right, great. So characters that are growing, you see a definite change from the beginning of the story to the end of the story. And you guys brought in the idea of conflict. Why is conflict so central to a story?
Well, if you don't have conflict, then nothing like important really happens, I suppose.
When something's
Yeah, because
really
nothing happens, right? You have a story without conflict. You don't really have much of a story, do you? But coming up with that conflict, I think, is one of the main things that you guys are going to be having to sort of deal with in your story sessions to make these cartoons something that people really want to, watch. Conflict is everything. An interesting conflict, conflict that challenges more than just the surface level, getting down to the emotional content of your characters and making turning those generic ideas that you guys are now starting to form for your cartoons into specific ideas that you can then put out into your cartoons. All right, setting. What do you guys think about setting? How important is setting to the telling of your stories?
Very important, because it's basically the whole context of where it's coming from. If you don't have setting and it's just in a blank space, you could be really confused as to where the characters are, what they plan on doing, and what their main goal is. Setting, it shows where the characters are and what things they would be doing in that type of setting, I guess.
And it's not just like the character, but the world the character is in, because everything should go around that. Like, the character has a goal, but this goal only makes sense in that world. Mm-hmm. Maybe in another world it wouldn't make sense, or it wouldn't be that relevant, or it would be too easy. So it's really important to add to those goals and to those characteristics this character has.
Not only does it make the world more believable in terms of like a world building sense, but it also sets a mood for the entire story with how the setting is portrayed.
So you can have the same characters and the same conflict, but if you switch the setting, the story entirely changes.
Right.
And that is a pretty common thing that we can all relate to, I think. What stories would happen, say, on a sports field are going to be different than what would happen in, say, space. When you guys are going to be coming up with these shorts, make sure that you provide a setting that will be ideal to what the characters and conflicts of the story you're trying to portray. In your stories, you also need to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Why is that so important to have those things?
If you don't have them, you won't even follow the story. Like you have, for example, you have a character that goes from point A to point B, and he wants to go to, like, I don't know, there's an apple there he wants to eat. And if in the middle of this path, he meets like another girl and finds like a pineapple, and he goes to another store, and then you have another story. It's not anymore this story telling the guy who's gonna find this apple. So it's really hard to follow if you don't have like a beginning, a middle, and an ending.
It also keeps the audience more engaged. If you just start in the middle somewhere, the story becomes convoluted and messy. So it's important to establish the beginning, what causes the conflict in the middle, and then what is the resolution to that conflict as well.
Fantastic. So when you guys are working out your stories, make sure that you have those elements to put into your story. You're working in short form, remember, and this is a very, very limited amount of time. You're going to be working within a very tight constraint. So having those elements set down really well, your compelling characters, your conflict, your setting, your definite beginning, middle, and ends, that's going to make for a successful short for you all, especially working within this short form format. So get your story ideas collected together and get your ideas ready to pitch, because later on you are going to have a visit from a guest professional mentor who is going to come and help you to get your stories on track and help you refine what you have from this morning's idea brainstorming sessions. Okay? So get ready to pitch, because it is time to crunch.
Yeah! Do this.
It is pitching time. I'd like to welcome our guest professional mentor for story. He is a 26-year veteran of the animation industry, having created storyboards and character designs on such films as The Emperor's New Groove, Surf's Up, Frozen, and Moana. He has lent his story talents to animation companies such as Disney Feature Animation, Sony Pictures Animation, Warner Animation Group, and just recently wrapped up as head of story on Maya and the Three at Netflix. He believes character is the basis for every story. His favorite film is Aliens, and his favorite color is blue. Everyone, please welcome Mr. Jeff Ranjo.
Hello.
Whoa.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
How's it going?
So Jeff is a prolific story guy and designer. And Jeff, you've been all around. So what is your initial advice for short filmmaking?
You know, I went to CalArts for 3 years, and we had to do a film every year. And teaching at CalArts, I got to judge 6 years of, it was like 6 hours or 8 hours worth of films every year. I think getting in to the story as quick as possible, and then telling a quick story and getting out. Because a lot of people, like, especially when you're in your second year at CalArts, everyone wants to do these big epics. So you kind of have to do something that you're able to do. First of all, can you produce this short? So don't create something that's like, you know, has a ton of backgrounds and a ton of characters and camera moves. Just do something that you can actually produce. So that would be my main thing. And get in and get out. That's the second thing. You can tell a great story in 1 minute or 30 seconds even.
Yeah, well, we've got a requirement for these films. There's two teams here. So East Coast team, why don't you wave?
Oh,
so we know who you are.
Wait, I think it's
East
is it
Coast.
backwards? I don't know.
Maybe your screen's. And then West Coast team, why don't you say hi to Jeff?
Hello.
Hello.
Okay.
So
okay.
you guys will each go into some breakout sessions where you're going to pitch Jeff your short films, and then he's going to give you some advice on how you can improve, perhaps maybe even shorten or make your films more efficient. All right, let's break out into our individual sessions. East Coast team, get ready to pitch. All right, so East Coast team.
So the log line of this is pretty much a sad and lonely witch finds herself missing her estranged husband. So she begins concocting this scary potion using a variety of strange ingredients, all in an attempt to bring back her beloved husband so they can relive happily ever after. And then after that, we have the shot list, and it sort of breaks it down. And those different colors are just to sort of represent A, beginning, middle, and end, and B, sort of the thematic feel of what we're going for. So the first part is pretty much just her sitting alone next to it's her alone in this big house. You can sort of see this picture of her and her husband sitting, posing in a picture on the wall, and she's sitting in a rocking chair, looking through this book, this spell book, and next to her is an empty chair with her with like a wizard's hat resting on it. So then it's a close-up of like the spell book covering the lower half of her face, and she's like surprised and happy at what she's seeing on the page, and the viewer can't really see what it is yet. So then it's a quick montage, this boiling colorful cauldron, and it's sort of going to change as they throw this stuff in, and this is like a quick montage. And so the first thing is like a frog, and then we're thinking something weird like a toaster oven or something, and then the third thing is going to be like a comically large barrel that this little witch, it's like 2 times her size, lifts up and dumps, and it's going to be a bunch of things like the dentures and the glasses, and then like random things like cartoon stuff. And then the last thing she puts in is her the husband's wizard hat that was sitting on the chair. And then it like sort of smokes, and this like crazy smoke comes out, and the colors change, and out of it rises this like zombie version of her husband, and it's like this big scary thing as a hand comes up and she's scared, and this big dramatic like Night of the Living Dead shot, and then like the like build up abruptly stops, and the witch like jumps over and hugs the zombie because it's her husband. Hugs him so hard that she like pops his eyeball out a little, and it like dangles. She puts it back in. And then the last scene is zoom out, and it's the same living room we saw in the first scene, but instead of it being all dark and gloomy, now it's warm and happy. And it's the witch and her zombie husband sitting in the rocking chairs, rocking side by side, as happy music plays, and it fades to black.
Okay.
And then we have some character design stuff too that we were sort of working on, and we threw in here.
Right.
Just trying to get like we all are sort of on the same page about like the shape of this witch, and like sort of the zombie element, and like the big nose is sort of a must.
So do you guys, anybody else on the team have anything to add or want to say?
We want to have this vibe, as Dylan said, like in everything. Like we even split by different colors here because we probably have different palettes for those moments. First, she's like completely lonely, and then it gets like really sinister. She's like, you know, looking at those spells, and she gets this look on her face like, and we think like she's evil, so she starts throwing all those things like, and in the end, when this hands come out and grabs her, and she's like, oh, and then it's just like her husband. So it's a sweet moment, actually. It wasn't like all sinister, and she hugs them, and you know, it's actually comfortable. It's really cute.
Okay, so story-wise, I was just, when I first heard the story, I thought, like, when you think of witches, you think I'm not trying to change the story, but I just thought it was going to be her broom or a cat or something, just something that you immediately like, oh, what do you think of as a witch? But when I think of a witch, I don't necessarily think of the husband, a witch being married right away, just because, in lore, they're always alone and stuff. But I do like, if we're trying to change the script here, like why can't witches get married? So, but I do like, that nice twist at the end where they're actually in love, but he's still, a zombie. It seems like it's totally doable. I usually, like, in a story, there's like a 1, 2, 3 thing where like she tries something and then she fails and then she tries something again and then it fails and then there's one more thing. Like, it sounds like, I know this is 45 seconds, so I might not do that at this point, because you just kind of want stuff to happen. So maybe you might want to think about her, like when you push into their living room, maybe you see some things about their life living together, so you get a few images.
Yeah.
Not like photos. I wouldn't say photos, but like maybe he's got I know you have the hat, but maybe it's an actual like dimensional push in or something, or a pan. I think if we're more, what are you guys working in animation wise? Like it's a pretty 2D.
Yeah, I think, it's going to be 2D. I mean, I think what we're going to probably do is Toon Boom and then After Effects it. So yeah, we could do a zoom or a pan or whatever suits it.
Yeah. So as long as you get some of those things about, what their life was together, I know you end on his hat, but maybe she tries a few things in the beginning that maybe, like, she has like in story, you want to see a character arc. So you want to see her like sad in the beginning, and then she gets hopeful, and then then she doesn't know what to do. Maybe she's like, oh, I've run out of ideas, like nothing's happening. And then maybe she gets the idea of the hat. And then that's the last thing that she throws in. Because you want
like some failed experiments.
Yeah, she's like throwing first like just a few things, and no effects happen. Like the anticipation of like something, and then nothing, and then she's like, oh, how about this? And then and then maybe you don't show it, but then maybe the last, like, I got it, and then she grabs the hat or something, like be on her face, and she's like, I don't know what to do. I got it, and then she gets the hat at the last second, throws it in, and then maybe the reveal is a big, like, big moment. Think about timing of like building this anticipation to this one big reveal, and then the reveal, the expectation is he's going to be fully restored, right? Like a human. Maybe you set that up in the beginning where you might see what he looked like before. And I don't want to do pictures because they didn't have pictures, or sculpture or something. And then the expectation of a human, but then the cloud, the smoke parts, and then he's a zombie. But then she's like hugs him anyways, and they're happy. So that's kind of what I would do. Always think about timing too, and leave time in your 45 seconds to have some pauses. I know they're not that long, but just if she's crazy in the beginning, contrast that with like a pause at the end for the reveal.
I think you have great potential for a nice mislead there with the zombie coming out, where it's just, some nice tilted angles and that, sort of zombie emerging, and then, right into that hug.
Yeah, the silhouette, looks like a perfect wizard, like we set up earlier, and then maybe the hands could come out, and then you see a zombie or something. Think fun,
Yeah.
I've seen shorts where it's like boom, 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 really fast, and then you're like, oh, it's done, and I didn't feel it. Like when I storyboard stuff, I try to make sure you feel it when you board it. So try to land those moments. It's more about, feel like you're creating these characters that are just drawings on a paper, and you want to make people feel for these characters. I think the most successful shorts are when you actually connect with the character and feel something for them. And it's amazing because they're just this little thing that you created. And if you have these people feel for that character, then you've really captured them, and you know, you really you get them on your side. It's about fun and creativity. Any other
All right, good job, East Coast team. Fantastic. Give yourselves a hand.
Good luck.
All right,
you guys see
on
that?
to West Coast team. Let's see what you guys got.
What?
So we're trying to make something that's not super serious. We're going for like a lighthearted kind of feel, but you're not supposed to notice that at the beginning. So let's roll through to the pitch. So this is the concept. The initial room we start in, it's kind of a royal palace, all this opulent furniture and everything. Okay, so our thumbnails, our story thumbnails that we threw together today, we've got our heroic dog standing by his little princess in her throne. He's watching over her very carefully. And then the ground shakes and stuff starts falling all over the place. And then the door to their throne room starts like pounding and like deforming open. And then this gigantic robot busts in, throwing the doors to the side. And it like pulls its torso up and starts sucking all the contents of the room into itself. And the dog stands by, points a spear at the threat. He's like, I'm gonna take this down. But then the air starts sucking him in a little bit, and it sucks him so hard that it pulls his spear out of his hands and flies all the way into the robot and sucks it up. Now he's like defenseless, got no weapons, but he looks over his shoulder at the princess behind him, and he's like, I'm gonna protect you no matter what. So he charges at the robot with his bare hands, and he bites it. But when it cuts to him biting, it's actually just a Roomba vacuum cleaner robot in a regular living room. And the princess is just a little baby sitting in her little rocker.
Wow. Thanks. I'd just like to say, like, how are you guys going to do this? Like, in what program or what format? Like, how are you going to animate this?
Toon Boom.
Toon Boom.
It's all going to be Harmony based.
Oh, Harmony based. Okay. This looks very ambitious. I know what you're getting at with the setup and stuff. I'm okay with the idea, you know, with the, you know, you want to set up this dramatic world and stuff. And then the reveal is pretty fast. So for me personally, I'm just worried about like the amount of work it would take to, because I know you want the contrast of this like really rich, realistic world contrasting with the ending. Another suggestion, I mean, just starting from the beginning, like if you can get into the story as fast as you can, maybe you cut and the action's already happening. And then you're like introducing the princess, and then you introduce the guard dog. Do a quick cut to the guard dog, and the guard goes to the door, and the door, you know, is being smashed, and then it explodes, and then the robot's there. I mean, like if you want to do it that fast, like, I mean, I'm just trying to think about cutting out like some extra time, because the robot's gonna, you know, suck in all the stuff. Can I see the next panel? I'm just trying to look at the poses and the stuff. And this Viz Dev or the comic stuff you're showing him, that's what's scaring me.
Oh, this is not the style. Like,
oh, okay.
They're just there for the mood, like the reference of.
Yeah. Okay. And what's the next? Can I see the next panel? And then, okay, that's the reveal. And I think the idea is fine. I wouldn't like get too more. I wouldn't want to add anything to it. I just like to, like, in your head, think about like how much time you have set up for each moment, or like maybe you want to spend more time on just the robot part and him attacking it, like you're like, that's where we're going to put all of our animation resources in. Then the other stuff can be like just camera moves or something, like a little bit of animation, then camera move to the guard and then the door, and then they jump, and then that's where the meat of your short is happening. I think you did a good job on like picking an idea that's probably doable. My only worry is the production aspect of it.
So in terms of animation style, we were trying to go for a more simpler approach, so it can allow for easier animation and more dynamic poses as well.
We also had an idea to maybe play with the color palette. So a dog's vision typically is like blues, yellows, black and white. So maybe in the fantasy world it could be those colors, and then when you cut to the real world it'll be normal colors.
I think it'd be wise to also talk about sort of the underlying emotions that are happening with this dog, and also with the princess herself. What is the princess feeling? Is she asleep? Is she active? Is she looking at this?
Yeah, just making sure your emotions land. I know this is kind of a quick idea, but you can still get those emotions in the story with the acting and the reaction and the timing too. Like, make sure you have time spent for those moments to land. Sometimes cutting, if you cut too fast, it can wreck your whole story. So make sure you leave some space for those moments to breathe. Even when we're working on feature films, it's easy to go from song to action moment to dancing to whatever, but there also needs to be moments where you slow the audience down and let them absorb or take a breath before you get on to the next thing. So you can't always sprint through your assignments or through a story. You always have to pace it properly and let those emotional moments land with the audience.
Now looking at it on an emotional level, what is your beginning, middle, and end?
I would say it's like a gradual build-up. So it'll start off like calm, everything's normal. And then the moment the conflict arises, the tension kind of builds. And then with the stark contrast between the cut, it'll like drastically fall back down to being humorous.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah. You can also match your emotions with the style of cutting you have when you're editing this together or doing your layout. As the calm is usually horizontals or verticals, horizontally mostly, and then when you get into action, there are a lot of diagonals happening on the screen. So make sure you emphasize those diagonals to amp up the action. And then the last scene, is pretty static and still, so it's very calm, a lot of horizontal, or contrasting. The beginning half of your short is all about movement and action. Then the last one is just a single shot, with little movement, to contrast those two ideas. Yeah. Do you guys have any questions about,
What would you suggest us doing to make this more manageable? Because I also feel like we've made a lot for ourselves to do. We've had the backgrounds, we have all the action shots. Do you think we should cut down on the action shots or other things?
Like, in my head, I would think oh, this is kind of like a commercial because of the time limit. So just do what you want, especially like Mike said, for the emotions. Like, make sure you hit those moments. I like limited animation. Like, if I was going to do it myself, I'd try to design it so that I could, get away with more limited stuff. In my head, I'm thinking like Powerpuff Girls or something like that. But don't let me, you guys keep your own vision. This is your short, and it's all about you guys. But just caution, make sure it's a designed and I think the story is there, and I think you just have to make sure it lands visually and emotionally, and you guys can do it.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Jeff. Thank you, West Coast team.
Thank
Now
you.
we're going to invite the East Coast team back. All right, everybody. That is our story session with our professional mentor, Mr. Jeff Ranjo. So thanks, Jeff, for coming and helping us out.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting me play with you guys too. It was fun. Lots of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, you guys. So now is the next session. You guys have till the end of the day to develop these ideas and integrate some of these suggestions and things that Jeff has mentioned to you. So it's working time. And once again, thanks, Jeff.
All right.
Jeff.
Bye, guys.
Thank
Good
you,
luck.
Jeff.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank
Good
you.
luck.
Goodbye.
Well, when I woke up this morning, I was really nervous. I was like just thinking how it's going to be so hard this week to get everything done. But seeing how much work we got done today, I feel a lot better, and I'm just more excited to continue working and seeing what we can make throughout the week.
I think it's actually going surprisingly well. At first, I was like a little like concerned about the week, but you know, diamonds are made under pressure.
It was very eventful. It was fun. We planned out our stuff and had some trials, but I think we're getting over them pretty well. So
It was a roller coaster, if anything. There were ups, there were downs, but overall, like I like the pace that we're keeping. We're all still really eager to like move ahead and everything. So I really like the spirit of the team.
Each of us pitched 3 ideas that we've been kind of coming up with over the weekend, and we each pitched them, and then each of us picked like our one favorite or our one strongest. We figured out which one kind of fit more and which would be easier for us to develop.
We are inspiring each other, I feel, and everyone has their own input in their different way. So I really feel like for one day we have like done a lot, I feel like, and I feel the story will only get better and better.
So when we met, we actually had 2 ideas, but we wanted to go with the more dynamic one, which was the one that we went with and we showed Jeff.
Oh, we changed a whole lot of our stuff after we met with Jeff, because he gave us a lot of perspective on like how are we gonna do this.
Jeff told us that we'd probably bitten off more than we could chew. Even though it was ambitious, it's probably better to not be too ambitious. Otherwise you might burn out, you know?
I mean, when he was talking, he was just saying things that made so much sense to me. I was like, oh, wow, why didn't we do that in the first place?
Like he gave us a few notes that we immediately implemented right after the meeting. When you went to West Coast, we like hopped in a Zoom call and we were like, all right, here's what we're changing.
All that, I was like, yeah, I get that. And like, I understood everything. You know, looking back at my schoolwork, we do talk about having those elements within it. So I was, not that I was overconfident, but I was like, yeah, I got this.
All right, we're back. We're just waiting for Mike to show up.
Okay, there we are. Sorry, I had some permissions issues with the Zoom chat. Okay, I'm back. How's everybody doing?
There we go.
Looks like we got switched, Tom. There we go.
I'm okay being you.
Oh, thanks, man. Likewise. Okay. So we have some questions, I do believe.
So one from Ray Sean is, how did we go about selecting the teams?
Well, the first thing we did was we put out a call on the internet over various social channels and through universities and through various media outlets like Animation World Network. We just asked for portfolio submissions. We said, this is the idea that we have. We're looking for people that are student level all over North and South America, and try to get out the word to as many places and as many people as possible. And portfolios started coming in, and we chose from those portfolios.
Do you have an idea of when we're going to do this again?
Tom, I think that's a question more for Wacom than anything else. I mean, the way that we get to do this again is everybody watches and everybody participates, and it's a worthwhile thing for them to do. That's how another one of these happens.
Awesome. Yeah, this was a really fun week to work on with these animators. What's another good one? Do you see any in here?
We have one from Sarah Sadri. I hope I'm saying
that
that
one.
right.
That's a good one.
Why is the short only 45 seconds besides only a week deadline? Well, a lot of it is about the week deadline. We wanted to have something that was challenging, but not impossible for our artists to accomplish. I think that it was just that sweet spot of having the limitation of 45 seconds, so you can't go on a crazy bender with how much you're trying to put into one story, but it's enough to tell something that's entertaining.
Yeah, didn't the animator start with some pretty big ideas that they had to shrink down to something more easier to animate within those 45 seconds?
Well, I mean, we just saw their big idea, and then in subsequent episodes, we'll see how that sort of got handled.
And we've got a question from Colin. Would you say Wacom is an industry standard tool?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Unequivocally so.
What do you have to say about that?
I mean, I use one every day, practically.
Colin's a person who's done webinars with us. He's pretty funny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then yes, I would say unequivocally so. I mean, every studio I've ever worked at has them, and we use them all the time.
So how much time did the team spend brainstorming?
They only got a little while to brainstorm. We send out emails telling them that they are chosen. They've been selected to become a featured artist on Cartoon Crunch. And I think a few of them sort of started thinking about an idea over the weekend and brought that in with them. But I have a feeling, I think we're going to find out a little bit more about that later as we, talk to the artists a bit more. And I don't want to spoil everything for what them to talk about on Saturday, because this Saturday we're going to get to meet all of them, and you guys can ask them questions about some of the more particulars. But yeah, I think a few of them had questions sort of coming into it, or had ideas coming into it.
Yeah, make sure to sign up for that on Saturday. It's the Cartoon Crunch Popcorn Party. That's on our Wacom blog as well.
That's when we're actually going to get to see the final product and see the artists themselves live.
Yeah, see the final animations and meet the kids. That's going to be a whole lot of fun. So what was the concept behind putting these animators into separate teams?
The concept behind that was time zones. So we had two sides of one country, and Kim, who's down in Brazil, and I believe Kim's watching right now. So
yeah, he is.
Shout out to Kim Caldas. our Brazilian champion from South America. So there is 3 hours difference between the East Coast and the West Coast, and 4 hours between the West Coast and Brazil. So it was mainly logistical. Brazil in the house. That one showed up from
Nice.
Amanda Oliveira.
Yep.
Okay, next question.
I'm looking through them.
Is it okay to add more than one character in this kind of challenge? Well, so far we had one short that had one character and the discussion of a second. And in the second one, it is 2 characters. No, they mentioned 3 characters. So you can have as many characters as you want, but remember that those characters will be animated. So it's prudent to try and do the time management wisely. So there wasn't a limitation as far as character count, but yeah.
Why do we limit this to 1 week?
Well, there were a couple of reasons for that. We limited it to 1 week because we felt like that was sort of a crucible of creation. This one confined area that you had to do a fairly monumental task within that time. And it works out really well for a schedule to be able to show the cartoon. So we have one. We took a total of 7 days and condensed that into 5 episodes. So then we could play 1 episode per night. And if we did that over a month, there would be no real challenge in that. You could put out a 45-second, piece of animation in a month. That's no big deal. But the week is sort of just enough time to be able to make it possible or plausible, but still account for the potential of failure, I suppose. We have one from Polina Kachan that I see. Would you do this again? Or if you would do this again, would you choose another country like Canada? Well, we invited Canada, but nobody showed up.
That was true. This was open to everyone in the Western Hemisphere, right?
Yeah, both North and South America. And I'm sure, Antarctica or the Arctic Circle if somebody was really, really keen on that. But mostly down there, it's explorers and such. So, but yeah, it was open to Canada, United States, all of Latin America, and South America.
So since you're an animator, I've got a question in here for you.
Okay.
What's your shortest deadline that you had?
We need this in an hour.
Really?
But I
Can you
mean,
tell us what this was?
Normally it's like we need little fixes for storyboards my main job is I am a director and a storyboard artist in animation. And so sometimes it's like, we need this to get into edit right away. So Devin Leduc is saying that his country is letting him down and just sad face. Well, you know what? If we get to do this again, I'm hoping to see much more Canadian representation. So bring it, Canada. I know you're no slouches when it comes to animation. So, we gotta get the word out to Canada a bit more.
So we've got a question from Facebook. What was the hardest part of being a mentor?
The hardest part of being a mentor was not just jumping in and showing them how to fix everything. We did a little bit of that. But it was like, you want to get totally hands-on, but you have to stay with your hands off more than anything else. I mean, it's like you're watching somebody struggle through a thing and you give them good advice, or you give them a few different like tips and pointers on how to get out of it, but you can't struggle for them. You have to let them struggle themselves.
That's true.
They've got to come to their own conclusions about their story.
Yeah.
I mean, you can give them advice. You can give them options even. But at the end of the day, this was their stories, and we wanted to make sure that it wasn't just something that we were like dictating to them, like do this, do that, do this. It was something that they had to think about themselves. And hopefully, Kim and any of the other featured artists that are on the chat will be able to speak to that on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna have a lot to say. So this is one thing that we both ran into. Did you have any concerns that either team would have ran out of time? They were unable to produce their animation.
That's always in the back of your mind. I mean, that's always in something that's like, oh, well, geez, could these guys not make it? And that's part of it. That's part of it. Yeah, I think, we had a group or two groups that were very dedicated and very, very much involved with this. And it also speaks to the fact that nobody wants to be the person that fails, right? Nobody wants to be the person that didn't show up, especially when you're on, a show like this. We've all seen reality shows where somebody on there has a bad day or has a something that gets them kicked off the show. And in this one, we're not kicking anybody off the show. There's no elimination. There's no anything like that. But yeah, the worry was always there that amongst us on the post end and them, I'm sure among the teams themselves in their more private moments, like, are we going to be able to get this done?
So I'm going to ask two more questions before we wrap this up.
Okay.
One is, how much time is typically spent fleshing out a story before animating it? Like really in the industry, how much time do you guys usually get?
It just depends on how much time we're budgeted for and what kind of production it is. Some shows take longer, and it depends on if you have a production staff that's, more lenient. You've got to get things to air, so you can't take forever to do everything, but you also, it's a balancing act. Sometimes you have to work within certain deadlines, and that's, I think, one of the great lessons in this show, Cartoon Crunch, that deadlines are a thing. And so it all depends. There's no real solid one answer.
Okay. I'm going to add another one in here. Why did we choose two teams? Why do we do teams?
Because 8 people tackling a 45-second short would be overkill. I think the 8 is a good amount of people to get different personalities and highlight different styles and things that we have. But too many people in the kitchen for, too many cooks in the kitchen for 8 people on one short. So 2 teams of 4, not only from the logistical standpoint, which we had discussed, but also that, like, if you were to have 8 people on a short, then that just is a recipe for disaster, because there's too many people to direct all at once. And then you've got other issues that can arise of, like, I want to do this, I want to do that, and then nobody ends up doing anything because somebody else thought somebody else was doing it.
Yeah.
So it was logistical, and it seemed like a much more fitting amount of people for the task itself.
Good answer. One more from Colin, because he's blowing up my phone right now. Right. This one's for you. How did you come up with the idea for Cartoon Crunch?
It started as, when we had talked, Tom, originally about, all the things that were going to be happening with live events sort of getting all canceled, and that digital was going to be the way that we were going to move forward. I just got out a pen and just started, jotting down different ideas. And that's where Animation Panel Palooza came from, our last big venture, which is also streaming on YouTube if you guys want to watch some professional animators play games amongst themselves.
That was a lot of fun.
So we had a list of various things, and we sort of singled in on this one, like, hey, what about a reality show about making animation? That hasn't been done yet. let's give that a little bit more thought, you know. And it speaks to me because I'm an animator, and the animation is something I like talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually can't wait to show these animations at the end. They turned out really, really good.
So there's one from Melanie Morales. All these young people work on this animation. Yeah, in the teams, each one of them has a role. I'm from South America, and I'm learning so much. My dream is to become a storyboarder. Thanks for the opportunity to see and hear you. Well, you're welcome, Ivis Bolivia Luna Velasquez. I don't want to say Velasquez. That's very not correct. Aqua, your question: did they use their own tablets, or did you send them one each? Yeah, we sent them each one. If you see that in the opening intro, each of them got a Wacom one. There's one I have. Let me change the measure. See that one right behind me, right? What in the side? Nope,
So
nope.
right over there.
Yeah, my camera's backwards, so
yes, so is mine.
There it is, right there. There it is. That's super awkward to do this on camera.
Yeah, it's a little confusing.
Okay, what else? In the teams who will direct the storyboards, we will see in subsequent episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I found about this on Instagram ad. Did you have to pay to advertise this? Oh, most certainly. So Wacom has been very generous, as well as our sponsors, B&H and Toon Boom and NX Pro and Staples. All of them have been very generous with what they've been, helping us with as far as advertising and everything. So if you guys are looking for equipment, actually, there is a deal, I think, going on at those retailers. So maybe we can put the promo codes in the chat and hop on over to B&H and Staples and Annex Pro. And depending on where you are, B&H is great for the States, Annex Pro and Staples Canada for Canada. I'm not sure about Latin America, but I'm sure that there are lots of places that you can purchase one of these fine Wacom ones that we used for the show.
Yep, and promos are in the chat, so thanks, Pete. Let's wrap this up. Is there anything you'd like to say before we close this down?
That it has been a pleasure to work on this show. It's been really kind of surreal to see this come to fruition, and I'm so glad that we're able to show it to you all. We've had a great time in our edit sessions, and I'm looking forward to you guys seeing the rest of it. There's going to be a lot of information dense episodes. They're not all the same length, just so you know. Some of them are a little longer. I'm sure some of them are going to be a little shorter. Which that's one of the great thing about the internet is that we have this, latitude, this elasticity in our running times. So, but there's some very information dense episodes that you guys that are looking for a little bit more in-depth view into how to make animation. We get a lot of that with our professional mentors, especially when they're doing drawovers and we see some of the other things that our teams will be presenting.
All right. Well, stay tuned for tomorrow's episode.
All right. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Yep. We'll call it. It's a wrap.